The morning skies over Los Angeles were unusually still, as if the city itself sensed the tremor about to hit its glittering facade. At precisely 6:45 a.m., a convoy of unmarked black SUVs rolled quietly through the gated entrance of Sean Combs's sprawling Bel Air mansion. Within minutes, armed agents from the FBI's organized crime division swarmed the property. No media, no leaks. This operation was meant to be silent. It didn't stay that way for long. Inside, agents uncovered what they later described as an unexpected trove of confidential materials, hard drives, encrypted phones, and most notably, a thick leather-bound notebook hidden behind a false panel in Diddy's private office. As officers flipped through its pages, a single name written in bold red ink leapt out at them: Sean Carter, Jay-Z. It was a name that needed no introduction. Billionaire rapper, cultural icon, and one of the most powerful figures in the global music industry. The agents exchanged looks, understanding immediately that this raid had just escalated from a standard financial investigation into something much, much bigger. Before we dive deeper into this jaw-dropping story of secrets, betrayal, and the high-stakes world of power and influence, make sure you subscribe to our channel. Trust me, you're not going to want to miss the twists and turns that are about to unfold. Word of the raid broke within hours. Helicopters circled above Bel Air, paparazzi scrambled to get angles, and social media erupted in speculation. TMZ dropped the first bombshell. FBI seizes confidential notebook at Diddy's mansion. Jay-Z's name found inside. The industry was in chaos. On the other side of the country in New York City, Jay-Z sat in his penthouse office at Roc Nation's headquarters, staring out at the Manhattan skyline. The man known for being unshakable, a chess player always 5 moves ahead, suddenly found himself holding pieces to a game he didn't know he was playing. His phone hadn't stopped buzzing. Calls from his legal team, text messages from longtime associates, and frantic voice notes from business partners all demanded one thing: answers. But there were none. Not yet. "Why the hell is my name in that notebook?" he muttered, more to himself than to the assistant quietly waiting by the door. Jay-Z wasn't just a musician, he was an empire. Billion-dollar investments stretched across tech startups, sports management, luxury brands, and real estate. His reputation wasn't just personal, it was the foundation of everything he'd built. And now, it was under threat. In Los Angeles, Diddy paced the marble floors of his mansion, now eerily quiet after the raid. His lawyer was on speakerphone, his voice tense but measured. "Do not, under any circumstances, say a word to anyone about the notebook, not the media, not your friends, not even your family." But Diddy's mind was elsewhere. His gaze landed on a framed photo, him and Jay-Z at the Grammy Awards, laughing like brothers. That was a lifetime ago, before the lines between friendship, loyalty, and business blurred beyond recognition. As the sun dipped below the horizon, Diddy broke his silence. Not to the FBI, not to his legal counsel, but to the world. On his Instagram story, a single slide appeared against a black background. "Loyalty has consequences." The post sent the internet into a frenzy. Was it a threat, a warning, a confession? No one knew, but everyone was watching. Meanwhile, Jay-Z leaned back in his chair, fingers steepled, eyes narrowed. He knew one thing with absolute certainty. Whatever was in that notebook, whatever secrets it held, had the power to burn everything down. And he was determined to make sure it didn't. The hours that followed were a whirlwind of speculation, misinformation, and panic. News anchors debated, bloggers theorized, and social media sleuths combed through years of photos, tweets, and interviews, searching for hidden clues. Why was Jay-Z's name in Diddy's confidential notebook? Theories ranged from the mundane to the outrageous. Some insisted it was merely a list of business contacts. Others whispered of secret financial dealings, shadow corporations, and offshore accounts tied to undisclosed projects. Inside Roc Nation, the atmosphere was electric with tension. Jay-Z's crisis response team, led by his sharp-witted attorney Marcus Green, had already set up a makeshift war room. Multiple monitors displayed news coverage, legal documents, and incoming alerts. Marcus pushed his glasses up the bridge of his nose and addressed the room. "First rule, No one talks. Not to the media, not to friends, not even family. We control this narrative, or it controls us. Jay-Z paced silently, his usually calm demeanor giving way to visible frustration. I want to know exactly what's in that notebook. Every word, every page. Find someone, anyone, with access. Meanwhile, in Los Angeles, the FBI's Special Task Force analyzed the seized materials. Agent Rebecca Sloan sat at her desk, poring over photographs of the notebook's pages. Amidst scribbled dates, account numbers, and initials, several entries stood out. Rock Summer 2016 closed. Sea Flight, Bahamas 11/17. SC, verify funds, transfer. Rebecca frowned. SC, Sean Carter. Her gut told her that wasn't a coincidence. The notebook didn't spell out crimes directly, but it hinted at a network, an intricate web of deals, some legal, others questionably ethical. Her partner, Agent Kyle Ramirez, leaned over her shoulder. You think Jay-Z's involved? She shook her head. Involved? Maybe. But whether he's a participant, a victim, or something else, that's the puzzle. Back in New York, Jay-Z's phone vibrated with a call from someone he hadn't spoken to in years. Andre Perkins, a retired financial consultant who had once worked with both him and Diddy. Jay hesitated, then answered. Jay, listen carefully. Andre's voice was low, almost panicked. That notebook, it's not just names, it's codes, locations, records of meetings that were never supposed to exist. Jay's grip tightened. What kind of meetings? The kind that were off the books. Remember the Bahamas trip in 2017? That wasn't just a vacation. Jay's eyes darkened. He remembered. A secluded island, a meeting with investors, hush-hush conversations about private equity, entertainment ventures, and, as he now recalled, a cryptic conversation with Diddy about insurance. Why now? Jay asked. Why is this coming up now? Andre sighed. Because someone wants it to. And trust me, it's not just the feds looking at that notebook. Others are watching too. At that same moment, Diddy's legal team scrambled to do damage control. But Diddy himself remained silent, at least officially. Off the record, however, he was reaching out to allies, to old friends, and perhaps to former enemies. His cryptic Instagram story hadn't been accidental. It was a shot across the bow, a message to everyone who had ever crossed him or thought about it. Loyalty has consequences, but was he warning Jay-Z or someone else? As night fell over both coasts, one thing became increasingly clear to everyone involved. This wasn't just a legal investigation. This was a reckoning. And for Jay-Z, Diddy, and everyone whose name appeared in that notebook, the past was no longer buried. It was coming back with a vengeance. The morning after the leak, the streets outside Roc Nation's Manhattan headquarters were overrun with flashing cameras, reporters shouting over one another, and fans holding signs, some of support, others laced with accusations. Headlines dominated every platform. Jay-Z linked to Diddy's secret ledger, hidden deals. What the notebook really reveals, and the most ominous of all, more names incoming, industry braces for impact. Jay-Z watched the chaos unfold from his office window. His jaw was set, his hands clasped behind his back. For the first time in decades, he wasn't in control of the narrative, he was the narrative. The inner circle was restless. Tyree Wallace, his chief of security, voiced what everyone was thinking. You need to speak, Jay. People are filling the silence with whatever they want. Jay turned slowly, locking eyes with Tyree. If I speak too soon, I give it power. But, he paused, considering. If I wait, I lose the room. His decision was made. Calls were placed, and within hours an exclusive interview was secured with America's most respected journalist, Evelyn Grant, a woman known for her integrity and her ability to draw out truths from even the most guarded subjects. Meanwhile, the FBI's investigation was expanding rapidly. Agent Sloan stood in front of a giant corkboard littered with photographs, strings connecting different names, places, and transactions. Jay-Z's name wasn't alone. Next to it were others, some familiar to the public, others disturbingly unfamiliar. Kyle Ramirez pointed to a name circled in red. This guy, Leonard Marks, offshore accountant based in the Cayman Islands. Multiple connections to Combs Enterprises, and get this, a shell company briefly linked to Rock Nation in 2016. Sloan narrowed her eyes. This goes deeper than anyone thought. In a secure location, the FBI's tech analysts decrypted a portion of the notebook, revealing a pattern. Periodic cash infusions from foreign accounts, tied to obscure ventures, film studios that never produced films, charities that never hosted events, investment groups with no known assets. As the pressure mounted, Jay-Z sat across from Evelyn Grant. The cameras rolled, the nation watched. "I've built my career, my life on transparency and integrity," Jay began, voice calm but firm. "So let me be clear, I have nothing to hide. My name being in that notebook, I can't explain it. But what I do know is that I've never been part of anything illegal. My businesses are clean. My record speaks for itself." Evelyn leaned in. "But the people want to know. Was there ever a point where your relationship with Mr. Combs crossed lines from friendship to questionable business?" Jay's eyes darkened slightly. "There were deals. We've all done deals. Some worked, some didn't. But everything I've done is by the book, whatever Diddy's into. I'm not part of it." His words were measured, but the tension beneath them was unmistakable. Behind the scenes, paranoia spread like wildfire. Jay's team began investigating how the notebook's contents leaked so quickly. Someone inside must have tipped off the media. Trust became a scarce currency. Phone records were pulled. Conversations were replayed in memory. Who had been in the Bahamas in 2017? Who had been at that late-night meeting in Paris in 2018? Who remembered the whispered warnings about insurance plans and fail-safes if things ever went sideways? And then came the text, an untraceable number, no name, just a single sentence. "You don't know the half of it." Jay stared at the message, his pulse quickening. For the first time, he realized this wasn't just about Diddy. This wasn't just about a notebook. This was about something much larger, and whoever was pulling the strings wasn't done yet. The message haunted Jay-Z for hours. "You don't know the half of it." He read it over and over, trying to decipher whether it was a threat, a warning, or something even darker. As the day unfolded, news broke of yet another twist. An anonymous whistleblower had leaked internal documents from a financial firm linked to both Combs Enterprises and one of Jay-Z's past ventures. The documents showed a tangled web of offshore accounts, shadow companies, and suspicious transactions totaling tens of millions. One document stood out, a 2016 wire transfer from a shell company in Luxembourg to a private equity fund partially owned by Jay-Z's holding group. The memo line simply read, "Project Eclipse, finalize." When Marcus Green slammed the printed document onto Jay's desk, his hands were visibly shaking. "You need to see this. This isn't just guilt by association. This connects directly to your old venture with Diddy." Jay-Z grabbed the paper, scanning the lines. His heart sank. He remembered Project Eclipse, a luxury media platform they'd discussed launching together, but the deal had fallen apart. Or so he thought. Apparently, Diddy had kept it alive behind closed doors. The realization hit hard. If funds were moved without his knowledge, then his name, his reputation, his empire were all at risk. Across town, in a penthouse suite under heavy security, Diddy prepared for a private meeting. But this wasn't with lawyers or PR consultants. It was with Jay-Z himself. For the first time in years, the two titans would face each other without intermediaries. Jay arrived with Tyree and Marcus, leaving them at the door. He wanted no witnesses for what was about to happen. Diddy stood by the window, arms crossed, staring out at the city. Without turning, he said, "I knew you'd come." Jay's voice was cold. "What's in that notebook, Puff, and why the hell is my name in it?" Diddy turned slowly, his expression unreadable. "You know as well as I do. Nothing in this game is ever clean." Jay stepped forward, tension radiating from every muscle. "I've stayed clean. You dragged me into this. You put my name in that book. Why?" Diddy sighed, rubbing his temples. You think you've stayed clean? You think we built all this without cutting corners, without making choices? His voice dropped. That notebook was insurance. In case anyone ever turned on me or tried to bring me down, I kept records on everyone. Jay's eyes narrowed. Everyone. Everyone, Diddy confirmed, his tone flat. You, me, them. If I go down, they all go down. For a long moment, silence filled the room, heavy as concrete. Finally, Jay said, "Then burn it, burn the whole thing, because if this gets out, we're not the only ones finished." Diddy's eyes flashed with something between defiance and fear. It's too late for that. At that exact moment, back at FBI headquarters, Agent Sloan received a secure package. Inside were encrypted files from a whistleblower. As the files opened, her jaw tightened. Dozens of high-profile figures appeared on the screen, names tied to suspicious financial flows, coded messages, and clandestine meetings spanning over a decade. Sloan turned to Ramirez. This isn't just about Combs. This isn't just about Carter. This is the tip of something massive. In the city below, the world continued spinning, oblivious to the fact that some of its most powerful architects were teetering on the brink of ruin. For Jay-Z, the line between ally and enemy had blurred beyond recognition. The past was no longer something to leave behind. It was a ticking bomb, counting down faster than anyone could stop. And the next move might decide everything. The morning sunlight filtered weakly through the blinds of Jay-Z's office, but there was no comfort in its warmth, only the weight of decisions that could no longer be postponed. A final report landed on his desk from Marcus. The message was clear. The FBI's investigation had expanded into a full-scale task force operation. Multiple subpoenas were out. Several high-ranking executives within Combs Enterprises had flipped, offering testimony in exchange for immunity. But the most alarming revelation: there was a second notebook. This wasn't just about offshore accounts or old financial disputes. The second notebook contained personal records, videos, voice recordings, confidential agreements, information that could obliterate careers, destroy families, and collapse multi-billion-dollar empires. Jay-Z sat back, fingers pressed against his lips, staring into nothing. For years he had walked the razor-thin line between art, commerce, and power. He had fought battles, survived betrayals, and risen to heights few dared to imagine. But nothing had prepared him for this. His phone buzzed, a call from Agent Sloan. Against every instinct, Jay answered. "Mr. Carter," Sloan began, her tone precise but not hostile. "You're not the primary target yet. But if there's anything you wish to disclose voluntarily, this would be the time." Jay inhaled deeply. "I've always done my business clean. Whatever's in that notebook, I didn't authorize it. But I'll cooperate. Under one condition." "I'm listening." "I want protection for my family, for my employees. This thing, it's bigger than Diddy, and you know it." There was a pause on the line. Agreed. The deal was simple. Jay-Z would hand over documents proving his disengagement from Project Eclipse after 2016. In exchange, the FBI would treat him as a cooperating witness rather than a suspect. Across the country, Diddy's situation deteriorated rapidly. More whistleblowers emerged. A former financial advisor testified that Diddy had maintained multiple black books, each more incriminating than the last. Facing mounting charges, Diddy's attorneys entered negotiations for a plea deal. But there was one catch. He demanded immunity not just for himself, but for a list of unnamed associates. The DOJ flatly refused. In a final act of desperation, Diddy released a public statement. Standing before a simple backdrop, no lights, no filters, no glitz, just raw defiance. "I built an empire," he said, voice cracking. "I did what I had to do. But I will not be the only one to pay for what this industry demands." The world watched in stunned silence. Was it a confession, a threat, or both? Within days, arrests were made. Several mid-level executives and financial operatives were taken into custody. Federal agents raided multiple properties across New York, Los Angeles, and Miami. Jay-Z, however, remained untouched. His cooperation had spared him the worst, but his public image wasn't entirely unscathed. Rumors lingered, conspiracy theories flourished, and trust in the industry, in alliances, even among fans, was fractured. In his final public statement on the matter, Jay-Z stood at a press conference, flanked by his legal team. "I've spent my life building something I'm proud of. Mistakes were made, not by me but by those I trusted. I'm moving forward, transparent, focused, and committed to doing things right." As the cameras clicked and reporters shouted questions, Jay walked away, head held high but burdened. He knew this wasn't truly over. Not for him, not for anyone involved. And as the final headlines faded from the front pages, one truth remained undeniable. In the world of power, fame, and fortune, the past never stays buried. It only waits to resurface. If you were hooked by this jaw-dropping story, don't forget to hit that subscribe button right now. Stay tuned, because the truth behind the music industry's most powerful players is far from over. And if you think this was wild, click on the video appearing on your screen now. It dives deep into the untold scandals behind hip-hop's biggest empires. Trust me, you won't want to miss it.